Open your eyes.
So in the art direction and the set decoration,
Your job is to report.
we tried to bring into this environment those objects with Dollarhide with like meaning that they are romantic, and also some of the research that we did into common delusional,
Here
the common delusional schemes of psychotics like Dollarhide. There's certain common themes that manifest themselves. For example, particularly in these years, 50% of paranoid schizophrenics believed that they were being controlled by microwave dishes that they would see on the tops of buildings. That's before dish antennas became ubiquitous.
Mrs. Leeds, do you see? Yes.
There's also a fascination, particularly in puberty, with electricity. Dennis Wayne Wallace would bend back the prongs of a fork and plug himself into a wall to get an electric shock to stun himself. He also came to believe that he was attracted to vacuum tubes and radios from the 1940s and 50s, and believed that that little spark glowing in what might have seemed like to a child model Empire State Buildings inside glass tubes, that in that glowing spark might be a clue to his identity.
Before me, you were a slug in the sun. You are privy to a great becoming, and you recognize nothing. You're an ant in the afterbirth. It is your nature to do one thing correctly. Tremble. But fear is not what you owe me. No, Lowndes. You and the others. You owe me awe. We have one more piece of work to do.
And then so too is the appeal of landscapes, extraterrestrial landscapes, and working with Mel Bourne. One of the things I wanted to do, what we brought into it, was it may not be immediately apparent, but the big photo mural behind Lowndes is in fact from a lunar lander, and it's the surface of the moon.
I had a great privilege. I have seen with wonder and awe the strength of the Red Dragon. All I wrote about him were lies. Will Graham made me write them to pull him into a trap in Washington District of Columbia.
In the language of shapes and what shapes say, the impulse towards something romantic, the transcendence, in Dollarhide's case, the transcendence of who I am, presents itself in, for example, in the appeal of Gothic. Translated into a modern vernacular, it becomes perhaps the early architecture of Lascaux, which influenced the sets. That's why the windows are canted at a certain way, and the lighting is designed to make shadows and lines play not at right angles to each other, but in kind of acute angles.
Good.
I think I'm prejudiced, but I think the set is some of Mel Bourne's best work, maybe second only to the work he did for Woody Allen in Manhattan. This is incomparable Tom Noonan as Dollarhide.
See your promise.
Casting Tom Noonan was interesting. We went through 50, 60 actors, and it was an experience I had in Thief. It's similar to the experience I had casting Leo, the role of Leo in Thief, in which I saw maybe 100 actors for that part, and they all seemed like one cliched idea after another. And I realized in Thief that my frustration was not with myself, but in fact the right person just had that walk in the door. Robert Prosky walked in the door, read 3 lines of dialogue, and that was it. He was Leo in Thief, and then so too with Tom Noonan. He came in, and I started I started the usual kind of, "Hi, how are you? I'm Michael Mann, and where did you go to acting school and everything?" And he said, he had the character in his head, and he asked if he could be excused from small talk, that he didn't want to talk, he just wanted to read. And it's one of those things of you know when you know. And he got through about the 4th line of dialogue, and I knew he was it, without a doubt. This is Dollarhide. I had the same reaction to Russell Crowe in one moment when cast him as Jeffrey Wigand in The Insider.
Listen, Bauman just broke the code that Lecter used in the Tatler personal ad. It was the state of Maryland statutes. You need to know what it said right now.
Right here, Graham is discovering what really was in the message that Lecter's got back to Dollarhide.
What is it, Jack?
Bastard gave me your home address. It said Graham Home, 3860 DeSoto Highway, Captiva, Florida. Save yourself, kill them all.
Give me a plane.
Will!
Now, save yourself, kill them all also became another kind of phrase that the crew used along with "You're so sly and so am I," and kind of the dark humor that pervades closely knit film crew on sets. Going back to Tom Noonan, for me, in making a motion picture, the one of the most important periods is probably prep. My own prep and the writing goes without saying, but the working with the actors and the acquisition of character and designing a method, a specific curriculum as to how characters acquired is a really key period for me. I spent a lot of time and thought on trying to help actors do that incredibly difficult work, turn themselves into somebody else. And one of the requests from Noonan was, which I thought was a very good idea, and in fact it may have started as a question that I gave to Tom, was that he and Peterson not really see each other until a later moment in time in the film in which there's a violent meeting of the two. And so Tom took this very seriously, and we had to go during rehearsals. We had to go through very elaborate logistics of moving people in and out of rooms in which we were rehearsing in pre-production, so that the two guys didn't actually bump into each other. I found out later that Noonan was actually in a very spooky way, kind of creeping around and spying on some actors, almost as if he was stalking them, almost as if he was Dollarhide stalking them. But Tom really grasped. He's fearless. It takes a lot of courage to play Dollarhide, and to me, one of the two or three most moving parts of the film that are important to moving to me. I don't know if it is to anybody else, but the true inner nature of the duality of Dollarhide, one pole of Dollarhide, which is the non-pathological pole, the battered, the child, the kind of mutilated psyche. Some glimpse of what might have been there without the abuse. That's a side of Dollarhide that Noonan really gravitated to. So this is not, the work of Noonan is not kind of spooky, let's be spooky and scary. It comes from a very deep character analysis by a very committed actor, and Noonan presents it to us with in all its complexity, but with a natural ease. And that's a true testament to Noonan's talent. Tom's also a filmmaker who makes small independent films of his own.
You and Mom are very well protected, you know. No one's gonna find out where you are.
Is there anything I need to know to see about Mom?
No,
This guy's trying to kill us?
we don't know that.
I don't know why I set this scene here. As a kid, I worked in a grocery store from when I was about 12 to when I was 16 after school on Saturdays. And I was constantly having to stock the shelves among a whole bunch of other things I was doing. So the idea of neatly stocked shelves in a supermarket seemed to me, for very personal reasons, the most bucolic of settings to have difficult questions that Graham has to answer from his son.
Was it because in the papers it said it was this man Lecter?
Mm-hmm.
What happened?
Well, Lecter was attacking college girls, and he killed them.
How?
In bad ways. He was a psychiatrist. One of the girls was his patient, and I went to talk to him about her. I tried to build feelings in my imagination like the killer had, so that I would know why he did what he did.
Graham explaining to his son here also explains to us his methodology as a detective and the duality of it, because as he becomes more successful as a detective, he's more destructive to his own self.
So I went to a payphone down the hall to call the police. And that's when he attacked me. You and Mom came to see me in the hospital, and that helped a lot. But after my body got okay, I still had his thoughts going around in my head. And I stopped talking to people. And a doctor friend of mine, a Dr. Bloom, asked me to get some help. And I did. And after a while, I felt better. And I was okay again.
And the way you felt that bad?
Kevin, they're the ugliest thoughts in the world.
So what kind of coffee do you like?
Huh?
You like that Folger stuff, right?
Yeah.
Mom likes that too. When can we go home, Dad?
Billy became very close to David Seaman, who plays his son.
So where are things?
Nowhere. Everything we've tried is either a dead end or it's backfired. Crawford's already planning the next crime scene so that we get it fresh.
The preparation that that Billy Peterson did for the role had to do with a number of things. One is truly understanding police procedure and the FBI. Secondly, the FBI's behavioral science unit, and thirdly, what it is that that Graham's doing, which is to say, coming into proximity to the kinds of serial killers such as Dollarhide, and truly understanding the difficulty of it. Billy coming from inner city Chicago and knowing Dennis Farina and a lot of the same people. He's familiar with general run-of-the-mill detective work and what that's about. So the reliance of detectives on motive is something that Billy understands. The difficulty of apprehending somebody like Dollarhide is required a whole different understanding. Dollarhide is what called an organized killer. He's not doesn't grab victims spontaneously. He doesn't see somebody waiting for a bus and throw open doors of his van and just grab them. He's very well organized. He determines who his targets are and plans an abduction, knows where he's going to clean up afterwards. Good. Some of the work that Billy did, this is a very key line right here.
Hi, this is Valerie Leeds. Sorry, I can't come to the phone right now.
I'm sorry, too.
Excuse me?
Coffee.
Just you and me now, sport.